What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Soccer Wise. David with you for a big time episode here. A little bit of a different recording schedule as we are into our championship season. We had our NWSL championship preview on Monday with Jordan Angeli, so we had to get that one out quickly. We have our kickback committee show around that game as well. We've got the USL championship on the horizon. Shout out to One Knoxville in the USL League One championship, Tom. The power of the mustache from you to Ian. It's just such a strong community.
What a sick story. What a sick team. What a special guy. What a special coach. Special Susanna. All this stuff. Just incredible. We couldn't have written this out in the way that it played. It's just makes my heart so happy. Two good people doing, again, starting with Ian, like with that team, just good people doing good things. It just warms my heart.
And as Frank says in the chat, the stash prevails. That is the true facts. So big time news for them. Congratulations, as you said, to the Fuller family overall and to the stash community. So we've got a lot to talk about in this show. Yeah, in this show. The MLS playoffs are back, which I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that. And this is why the schedule is changing and flipping, because it's been 20 days and some teams have been on the field. So we will get your preview. We will get you ready for the games coming up. They're spread out across the weekend. Friday, I believe, Friday, Saturday, and Monday. It is a chaos schedule, as it always should be.
There's not a Friday game, so what are you talking about?
Yeah, Friday night. Vancouver plays LAFC.
Saturday.
Oh, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Okay, I knew there was a standalone game.
We're coming back from the the first, like, the wild card games. I guess they don't totally count. That was Wednesday, October 22nd. The first round one game was October 24th, and the next whatever Friday's date is.
Famously, I believe. Second round. Yeah, Major League Soccer, obviously, originally MLS, it was a real estate platform. And so the key is you'd be able to build a full home between the start and end of the playoffs. That is the focus. A little bit of a pop-up home, but still, you have to be able to build a full structure from the start to the end of the playoffs, or it doesn't officially count in canon.
No show job.
As an MLS championship. So we'll talk about that. We will talk about the huge article that just came out in The Guardian, written by Pablo Maurer, about the current sporting director of the Philadelphia Union, Ernst. And that, of course, and it's heavily connected to the playoffs and everything else going on. And we're going to talk about the U.S. national team, who I thought I would be coming in on a high, beating Paraguay and Uruguay, and the heights that this team is capable of. But there was a brawl at a game in Philadelphia between the U.S. and Paraguay. And I'm not going to lie, Tom, I couldn't see you. Where were you? You don't defend your brothers? You're not there? You're not first to the scrum?
I was sitting next to Roberto Rojas in the press box, and we were just put each other in a headlock. So we both felt like we were in the mix.
Cop. Cool. So you got involved.
You say cop?
Cool. No. I just listen. I was worried that you had lost. You had lost your verve or your engagement. So I was really worried about that. But that's good to see the U.S. making
a brawl is me to a brawl is like like a moth to like a light. It's like,
well, I'm like, do they have bulletproof glass coming through that Tom couldn't physically break through? And by the way, I know at Subaru Park there are no windows.
No, it's like a garage.
It's
thing.
So great. The garage
like the record show, because we were there pretty early. A couple capital J's, sitting in the press box room, and all of those things were down.
Yeah.
And guess who?
Yeah.
A little bit of elbow grease.
I bet.
A little bit of arm strength. A little bit of obliques. Getting in there, taking the garage door open or whatever it'd be called, and Tenorio was proud.
The Galaxy also have the garage doors, so it's of that generation. And I've opened a couple in my life. I think FC Dallas has them too. I've opened a couple in my life, but I'm glad to see, Tom, you're finally growing up and joining the rest of us in the workforce. Okay, before we get back to talking about the stuff we like and the fun stuff, let's talk about the huge news. As I said, article coming out late yesterday in The Guardian, written by Pablo Maurer, who is as good a writer as we have in the U.S. soccer circles. And the article is a giant expose, which first and foremost, go read it. We cannot get through all of it in this show, and we shouldn't. You should go read that article where it was written. Support The Guardian for helping get that done. Support Pablo for the work he did, and go understand the story for yourself, because we're not going to be capable of synthesizing all of it for you and putting it all together. But Tom, this was earth-shattering for this club, for the league, for people around the sport, for people around Philadelphia. And then we've had some statements that have come out since then.
Yeah, first of all, it was an exhaustive piece of journalism by Pablo Maurer. So again, support journalism, support Pablo, read it, echo what Goss said. Even if we were here trying to give details, which again, I think that sells short the work of what Pablo's done, what The Guardian has done. And for those who don't quite know, something like this, it goes through a lot of layers of people and lawyers, right? Like, The Guardian's name is on this. The Guardian is not no stranger to publishing expose or investigative reportings, I should say, across all domains, including like politically. This goes through a ton of layers. So they've invested in this, and again, just incredible work by Pablo. And we'll see what comes of it. But Ernst was placed on administrative leave by the Philadelphia Union today as Major League Soccer reopened an investigation that initially was closed because they were not able to corroborate some of the allegations. Pablo had more info on that, plus new allegations, and that's why MLS has said that they reopened that investigation. And the first statement comes from the Philadelphia Union. Quote, Philadelphia Union takes all allegations of misconduct extremely seriously and is committed to maintaining a safe, respectful, and inclusive environment for everyone associated with our club. Discrimination, harassment, or abusive conduct of any kind has no place here, and all staff are required to complete annual sensitivity training. While a recent MLS investigation was unable to corroborate allegations involving sporting director Ernst, MLS has advised the union that it will be reopening that investigation, and the union continues to cooperate fully. The union has placed Mr. Tanner on administrative leave during the investigation. Throughout the process, our top priority remains the well-being of our players, fans, staff, and community.
MLS also put out a statement saying MLS recently concluded an investigation into allegations raised by the MLS Players Association, which the MLSPA noted had been independently verified following publication of a Guardian article that included new allegations and potentially new information. MLS will reopen the investigation. MLS maintains an anonymous reporting hotline and encourages anyone with relevant information to come forward. The allegations across this article span years. They span inappropriate workplace behavior, racism, sexism, homophobic language, inappropriate touching, inappropriate hiring and firing processes. There is a lot in this article. And so we're going to continue to cover it here, but it just happened and is still developing. So there is not a lot that we can add. Ernst Tanner firmly denies the allegations, and that was put out, I believe, by his legal team, who is supporting him through this. And so there's still a lot to happen. And as this reads, this investigation now into the new allegations, and I would assume looking back at the previous allegations, will tell us a lot going forward of what will happen. We hate these stories, but of course they're so important. And there is a lot of unknown, but everyone, I think it goes without saying, deserves a safe and comfortable workspace in their life. And that has to be the most important job at any time for an organization. And you would hope the Philadelphia Union are making steps to make sure that that's the case going forward. And you'd hope Major League Soccer will as well. Obviously, the comment in the MLS statement about the anonymous reporting hotline, it's stated in the article that people did not feel that they could comfortably use that. So MLS needs to also look at the process here and make sure that they are doing what they can to support everyone. And it sucks when it's timing like this, but these are the moments where you have to force organizations to move and change when things are fluid. But Tom, it sucks overall. And I think we feel for anyone who's experienced any of this or who's been a part of it, and we're still waiting to just see more.
Exactly. And to your point, first and foremost, it's about the humans, it's about the workplace, it's about everything. And again, like you said, Tanner has firmly denied, I believe the quote was like firmly denies the allegations. We'll see what kind of comes of it. Again, everybody involved deserves a positive, safe, healthy workplace and stuff. So again, all of these allegations, There was an investigation, but hopefully the league, the club, everybody can get to the bottom of this. And again, that is the most important. It is difficult to talk about. I just echo like you saying, like, this sucks. I think we're here behind people and supportive of this process and supportive of, again, the journalism, the reporting that Pablo's done. Our area of expertise is on the sporting and technical side. So as awkward a transition as it is, just to point out, Philly are in the playoffs. They host a conference semifinal this weekend against NYCFC. And the timing is this was a team that was on a high. They won the Supporters Shield and they get through to the next round. They easily get past Chicago in that second game after the first one was a little dicey. And now it feels like the game that they recently played and their next one just is so secondary to everything.
And I think we both, as you said, in our expertise of what we understand, the way we know, this is an earthquake to this organization because of how central Ernst is to the way this club operates. It is his club, where there might be some where you'd say, okay, this happens and like the overall structure continues on. I don't know what this club looks like going forward, and I think that's why it feels so big on top of the span of 7 years of allegations that this is covering and the just massive level of this. And once again, go read the article. I had to sit down and read it and then reread it just to sort of intake everything that's in there. And we'll continue to cover this story as more news comes out going forward. Let's turn to a little bit of soccer, though, and what we thought we would be starting this show with, which is the U.S. men's national team. We have said over and over on this show, just compete, just be good, and it feels like a treat this morning to me with the performance that they've given over the last week and the result that they've given. And like, sports are stupid, they're finicky, we fixate on small things. We sort of sit around waiting for confirmation that doesn't actually exist, whatever it is. Beating Uruguay 5-1 is massive. And to do it on the final game before the draw and then the final game before basically a 4-month layoff is so big for the culture of this and the experience and environment around this team. For this is what you've left people with. Now this is what you're going into the World Cup with. Yes, they've got 4 more games, which your coworkers, Henry Bushnell and Paul Tenorio, have helped break out the story that we're going to talk about here at the end moments ago about what that schedule will look like. But like, you go to the draw, you've got 5 hours of broadcast. And by the way, one of those broadcasts is going to be done by Kickback. We are going to have a live World Cup draw show. We are going to be doing it live from New York City at Legends Bar. So if you're in the area, you can come on by. If not, you could stream it with us and you could watch on our YouTube page. But like, this is going to be the first topic now for people. And we had Brian Dunseth on the Kickback Committee show a few weeks ago, and he linked all the way back to the second half for South Korea, the performance versus Japan, across the game versus Australia and Ecuador. Like, these are a string of good performances, but this is your keynote that you can hold up and say, this is what this team's capable of. And sometimes ball go in and sometimes it doesn't. Right? They're not 4 goals better than Uruguay totally. Right. They're not 4 goals better than the 15th best team in the world. But they're in the sphere, which is on their good day, this happens. And on their bad day, it probably doesn't. And that's what we've been asking for from this team, was that base level to be high.
Yeah. Going back to the last 6 games, let's start with South Korea. They got played off the pitch. They didn't seem like they were anywhere near that team's class. That was the absolute rock bottom. That was the nadir of the Poach era, to the point where there were serious questions about
if he would stay around.
Change. Yeah. And the last 30 minutes against South Korea is when they switched to the 3-4-2-1. At first, you could have just kind of dismiss it as game states. Yeah, South Korea were up because Pochettino came to the press conference after the game, was like, actually we played really well and all this stuff. And he was giving stats. And you and I on the show were like, yeah, man, game states. Like, South Korea was up 2-0. They subbed out Son Heung-min and like 3 other players, and then the United States changed system and got back into the game. They played really well against Japan, and that was still like, well, Japan didn't have all of their starters. But South Korea, Japan, Australia, Ecuador, Paraguay, Uruguay. In those 6 games, 5 in a row unbeaten, with the 6th being that South Korea game. These are the teams that the U.S. are in generally the same class, and
Yeah.
maybe they're ahead of Australia and maybe Paraguay, but I think Paraguay belongs in this group as well. All that is to say, these are the games that you hope to win. These are the games that are big, big tests, and I give credit to U.S. Soccer for finding ways to schedule these opponents because these were really important, particularly this window with Paraguay and Uruguay. And
yeah, but like, don't do too much. They're playing Canada. They're all playing in the U.S. Like, I'm just saying,
I understand.
you could fall out of a boat right now and play a World Cup opponent.
Well,
in
Argentina's
the US,
playing Angola, dude. Like,
which is sick. Argentina.
It's all for money.
Argentina plays every game in the U.S. The World Cup's on the verge of happening in the U.S. and they're like, we're gonna go to Angola.
Yeah, like, so why that's fair. Still trying to give a little credit.
Yeah,
and this is we'll talk about the post-game press conference where it's just a fact. Tyler Adams, Christian Pulisic, Chris Richards are probably the three most important players in this team, and none of them were there. And then varying degrees of likely starters, maybe starters of no Tim Weah, no Anthony Robinson, no Weston McKennie, no Malik Tillman. Beyond that, 9 players were changed between the Paraguay win and the Uruguay win. We had no idea what to expect, and it was extremely impressive in baseline performances in both games. Like you said, no, they weren't 4 goals better than Uruguay. I'm not taking anything away from the win. It's just you're never quite it's never as perfect as you think it is, but it's usually never as bad as you think it is either.
Yeah.
Though against the 60th minute mark against South Korea, boy, did it feel as bad as it looked.
Coming into the game, the average cap appearance for the starting 11 was 14.1 caps, which is the least experienced starting 11 in USMNT has named in an official FIFA window, so not including January camps, within a year of appearing in a World Cup since October 2005 versus Panama, which I assume, if I went back and looked, European players had started their season and they're like, we'll probably call up a domestic team and sort of a rotated team because we're playing Panama. Mm-hmm. And that was at a time when they did like Euro-based camps and domestic-based camps. So that's where the question came from with Mauricio Pochettino after the game, which was like, this isn't your A team. I love the reaction. First of all, the initial reaction of, I probably don't understand you because that's a garbage question, which it's not, by the way. And,
it's a fair question.
And not only is it a fair question, and this is sort of something, and this doesn't go back exactly to what we talked about with the Rapids and Chris Armas and all of that, but like, part of reporters' jobs is to lay a platform for people to talk on. You got the answer from Mauricio Pochettino you wanted. Like, he expressed his emotion on how he feels. But we talked about coming out of the Gold Cup, how emotional he was about that group. He highly values the people around him and the experience he has with those people around him. He's not as connected to the team when they're back with their clubs, where I think Greg was very connected, or not at all. But if you do something with him and for him and around him, it elevates you over other people. I say all this in saying, I think a large part of what we saw over the last 2 windows is guys feeling this, which is he's in my camp, I'm in his camp. If I go and perform for him, he will pick me. And his point, which he has said since the beginning, I don't care where you play. As long as you're playing and you're healthy and then you come in and affect the game for me, that's all that matters. And like, John Tolkien sort of had a comment that I think Melissa Ortiz relayed on the broadcast about, like, I kind of have a belief that if I put my head down and work hard, I'll get there. I don't know that that's always been true with the U.S. national team. And this is not a Greg Berhalter comment. This is a Bruce Arena comment. This is a Bob Bradley, right? Like, guys, they formed their team. And I think that's what you saw this week is Sebastian Berhalter genuinely believes if I go out there and ball, I've got a shot at this. And Diego Luna believes that. And Austin Trusty believes that. And Max Arfston believes that. And that, I think, is what has gotten you this other vibe. And I'm texting with someone this morning being like, I don't know the best 11. I think there are maybe 3 locks for starters. And the point is that's the good thing. The positive is if everyone's bought in, he can tweak and change for opponents or skill sets or form or whatever, but you're going to get that base level grit, fight, whatever connection, which is what they've been missing.
That is extremely important. Could not agree more. And that has been the point more than anything else. I think that has been the driver of his decisions, of his responses to questions, of his team talks, of everything has been to fuel that. And my only worry is perhaps it's gone a little far which again, if the end goal is just this for now, I hope by the time we get to March, we have a bit better idea of, Poach, give me a break about saying the preferred starters or the first choice or whatever, right? That there's more continuity built between the guys that we have a pretty strong idea either will be in most lineups or could be, right? Like the U.S. called up 71 players in this calendar year. 71. I don't know what that number is for Argentina. I don't know what that number is for Germany or for Paraguay or for Uruguay. I doubt it's anywhere near that.
Yeah.
So that's a bit overkill to me, while understanding that it's clear that that was the goal, to imbue that feeling and that competitiveness, and that nobody's spot is for granted. Tim Ream was talking to us before the Paraguay game about that. And he was just kind of straight up like, I'm not saying one is right or wrong, but the last, like, he didn't say Berhalter's name, but under Berhalter, he's like, yeah, guys kind of knew pretty much, that was part of his man management style. Like, this is different. Like, and he was just laying that out. Like that is just a very clear fact, whether you're on the inside or not. You can see that, you can know that based on the decisions.
Yeah. And Tim Thompson in the chat says Emma Hayes has done something similar. Obviously, she gets to do that with the luxury of a gold medal in her back pocket, which makes things a little easier. And I think we don't have to rehash all the Berhalter stuff, but I think Berhalter's job when he came in was to build a national team out of nothing.
Yes.
And once he built it, it was hard to step away from it. And the guys were so young that it was hard to make an obvious decision of like, it's your time out. But we'd heard how comfortable players had gotten, and now we see the way things stand. There is so much in this game to talk about. We're not going to hit everything. Like I have for you in the rundown, as you see every goal, like what I loved about it.
I want to talk about the first one while you continue, where after Pochettino was already very upset, and not very upset, but you know what I mean? He was clearly on edge and not happy with the line of questioning. And then the next question was pretty much that first goal by Berhalter. It was rolled short, touchback, and he puts it in the top corner. Do the players have the freedom of individuality, or do you work on that in the training ground? And he throws his hands up and goes, no, it happened by coincidence. Like, clearly being sarcastic.
Yeah. It was a strong performance. But what's interesting about the moment is, okay, so on the first goal, it's John Tolkin who steps. He reads the play. He steps out of left back, which formation change, back four for this team. Serginho Dest playing as a right wing, which I have talked about for a while now.
You really have. You have.
And I don't mind it. And also they did it in a setup, but they also did it in a setup where Alex Freeman could play right center back, right? Yeah. So there is flexibility. And that's one of the things I loved about this team on Tuesday, was you look at this group, and there's these moments where Sebastian Berhalter goes out wide. Diego Luna comes underneath. Tim Tillman goes out wide. Haji Wright drops in or goes wide. John Tolkin comes inside. Almost every one of the players on the field is comfortable in more than one position. And that's not about like formation, where to set them. It's that they can go and find the game, and then other players can react to that. And that fluidity helped open up a lot of space against this Uruguay team. You also had a lot of players who have a similar soccer mind. Tillman's trying to break lines every time he touches the ball, which, by the way, I owe Timothy Tillman a huge apology on this one. The tackle on the third goal
get stuck in
is one of the great fucking plays I have ever seen.
Let's go.
He comes flying in on that tackle, squeezes the ball between his legs, pops up, and immediately recycles play. And he had the assist as well on Diego Luna's goal. It all fit to what his game model is. Quick play, transition, being aggressive going forward. But Luna likes to take the game and go and attack. John Tolkin comes out of the Red Bull system. Like a lot of the guys in this game are super aggressive and can be, and the technique level is really high. Like you have an Aiden Morris, Sebastian Berhalter, crew DNA, slightly other crew, but still Greg Berhalter's crews were pretty soccer. That's the academy they came through. Morris obviously played more time with Nancy. Like they want to be on the ball. They want to connect. They want to keep the game moving. So you saw all of that come to fruition. But Tolkin steps up on the first one. So Haji Wright draws the foul. They play the free kick in, and there's a foul call. Like the free kick goes direct. There's a foul called. Austin Trusty gets leveled in the box. So then they have to retake it. And that's where the goal comes from. And it's everything. It's soccer IQ. It's technique. It's confidence. It's what we've seen from Berhalter for a year and a half. But it is also then the environment there that Poch has created, and it was awesome.
So, yeah, you talk about Seb Berhalter of the Vancouver Whitecaps. You talk about Alex Freeman of Orlando City. You talk about Diego Luna of Real Salt Lake. You talk about Timothy Tillman of LAFC. If I do recall correctly, Marcelo Bielsa told Kike Oliveira he needed to leave LAFC because MLS makes players lazy and stuff like that. Maybe you should go get another
Tom's got a bone to
Gatorade
pick.
cooler to sit on, pal. Maybe you need another Gatorade cooler. Maybe you get a better vantage point of what happened during this game. Because LAFC were the problem. It wasn't Kike Oliveira was wildly inconsistent. It wasn't that. It was, actually LAFC made him lazy, and he's really not actually that lazy. Like, give me a fucking break.
We are about to go off the rails.
We're that's 2 F-bombs from us combined. So I think now we legally have to put an explicit content next.
We're normally a lot lower than that.
We should have given an earmuffs warning. I apologize.
What a goal from Berhalter. What a moment for him. And he has clearly broken through and become a clear option for this team. His flexibility is massive. If it is Tyler, he can play alongside him. If it's not, he can help. Like him, Aiden Morris, Tanner Tessman, they've inserted themselves into this group. I think that might be the biggest development positionally for me, even though we're getting great performances from center forwards. The way Trusty and Mark McKenzie played has vastly improved my belief in the center back pool and what they have there. I still think now, feeling like there are options in the middle of the field that the rest of the team can rely on, I think is really, really important. The second goal, Tolkien wins a corner kick for the team. It's good service as always from Berhalter, but come on, man. That's a man goal from Alex Freeman. Okay, you and me, 1v1, whoever gets up and wins it and wants it more is the one who gets up and wins it and wants it more. And these, again, Alex Freeman is one of the best fullbacks in Major League Soccer. And let me get on my soapbox for a second. 10 years ago, Alex Freeman's one of the best young center forwards or center mids in youth soccer.
Good point, man.
And he's either converting positions at 18 for Holstein Kiel or Club Bruges, or he's winning a Mac Herman trophy and then coming in and playing minutes as he converts positions at a professional level. But because there is a professional system now built for youth development, it was ID'd that he could be a game changer and world class at that position. And they trained him to be an expert at that position. But with his size, he can play right center back. When he comes inside, he doesn't get bullied off the ball against Uruguay. Like, we're talking about a kid in his first year really as a pro who's banging with the Uruguayan central midfield and doesn't care. And then he has game-changing moments because he's a great athlete. He's a great player. He's a special player. But you got to get those guys on the field. And there's a lot of guys, by the way. John Tolkien came up as a center mid and got converted to the left back position because he's so good on the ball that the game went through him. And they said, I don't know, maybe your athleticism, the way it works, is not as comfortable side to side, quick reactions. If you can anticipate and make hard runs, that's a little bit more comfortable for you. Austin Trusty and Mark McKenzie coming through in the Philadelphia system, and then Trusty going on to Colorado, playing high-level professional minutes, having the game at their feet, requirement to pass out of the back from a young age, which many players didn't have. All of this stuff, by the way, is part of what we saw out there. It was an epic goal. It's an awesome moment. The Tillman tackle on the third goal is great. And you get the history. First time that the U.S. has scored 5 against a former World Cup winner. First time the U.S. has scored 5 against a top 15 rated national team in the world. So the result on its own is a treat, but the performances across the 2 games were a treat as well. It was fun to watch. And let me leave you with this. Not leave you, because we're going to keep talking. So I was playing soccer last night, and I missed the first half live. So then I come back to watch it, and for starters, I played with someone who was wearing a Uruguay jersey. I was like, by the way, you're down 2-0 right now. And they're like, against who? What? And I was like, I get home and I said, the U.S. is winning 4-1 right now. And my wife goes, the U.S. women are playing? Like, immediately.
That's so good.
But it's not wrong. It hasn't been wrong. And my hope is now it feels a little different going forward. And like, that's what we got from this week. That's what we got from the last 2 windows, is just like true belief that it's worth tuning in for, that it's worth investing in, that's worth being connected to. Pochettino deserves his flowers because we complained. We complained about the amount of players that came in. We complained about his insistence that he's the only one who could judge a player, that his group is the only one who can sense it and smell it and see it. I read his book, I understand his history and his past, but he had a plan and it worked so far. And this is the best you could hope for at a moment like this. Is there any specific player takeaway, anything else besides the 900 things I just said that you want to get in before we move to the schedule news?
Just a very, very quick one. You talked about Alex Freeman can play that right center back role. I would have pushed back heavily against this, I don't know, a week and a half ago. Because everything that we've seen in Orlando is that Oscar Pereira changed his game model so he could play that wing back role.
Mm-hmm.
Him, like that, what we thought and what I still think is his best quality is his verticality, ability to get forward and be creative and dangerous, going for more dangerous than a fullback typically is in terms of scoring goals. And hopefully the creativity will continue to grow as he continues to develop. All of that said, I thought that he would have been a liability at right center back. And that's why I was like, oh, this is definitely not a 3-4-2-1. And then it was really fluid. I think that this was more 4-2-3-1 than 3-4-2. All of that being said, there were a lot, I thought that there was going to be no moments of Alex Freeman tucking in as the right center back.
Right.
And I think that is another point in the bucket of his development, his IQ, and the coaches seeing it too and believing in him. And again, just what an excellent development story that you and I were already over the moon about this kid. And we don't put many ceilings on him. One of the ceilings that personally I was putting on him was like, dude, that's a waste. Put him at right center back.
Yeah.
I was wrong. And well done to Freeman.
It was a huge week. We haven't done a show since for Reina, obviously, the goal he scores against Paraguay, the performance he puts in.
Incredible.
Which,
and an assist against Uruguay.
Yeah.
He's back.
Although he does not close down on the Paraguay goal at all. That's the goal. The goal comes from someone has a chance at midfield to pick their head up and pass through to Almiron. So there's the good and the bad, and I think some of that comes with sharpness and playing and minutes and all of that. But where they stand now, nothing will be reliant on him, because the only world in which you're like, yes, Reina has to be on the roster is if you have a spot for a wild card. And where we sat 2 months ago, it felt like there was no empty positions because I don't know what I'm going to get from a lot of players. Yeah. And and then it becomes, well, he's not a wild card. Now you're reliant on him. Can you rely on him? But now you're in a spot where, okay, he could be 26th or 30th on the roster. We don't know what it will look like. Officially, we're still working on the assumption of 26. And what you get from him, you get from him. And what you don't, you don't. As long as you feel like he fits in the group. But there are a lot of different options for this squad. By the way, Max Armstrong's starting for this team. Get out of my face, dude. Wait, now you agree?
How many different times can I say left wing back, not left back?
He's playing
both.
Do
I need to put a note on my forehead?
It doesn't even matter. He's playing either for this team. This was awesome to see. Let's go to that news that was put out from The Athletic a couple moments ago, which is, so the U.S., the reporting in this, some of it's official, some of it's not. I'm just going to say it like it's all official.
If it's Paul and Henry, it's official.
Right. So in March, and some that can change on this is there's some FIFA rules that they have to work with it. In March, the friendlies are going to be Portugal and Belgium. They're both going to be in Atlanta. I am guessing, because I don't think this was written up specifically in this way, the National Training Center will open at some time in the spring. Arthur Blank funded it. It is in the Atlanta suburbs. So my guess is that is a way to build a little bit of energy around that. And all of this work is being done on the East Coast because the U.S. will be camped on the West Coast for the World Cup. And so my assumption is this is a way to sort of spread the interest and the connection to the team. So it will be 2 games in Atlanta, both against high-level World Cup teams. And then the send-off tour, quote unquote, I get it. West Coast sucks. So it's like you're sending them away, but it's not exactly a send-off tour. Will be 2 games. One will be Germany in Chicago as the second game. And the belief is the first game will be in Charlotte, and that will be dependent on who comes in the draw. My guess is you're going to look for someone who's a similar opponent, which is what teams have done in the past. If you're playing a South Korea, maybe you play another team from Asia, a Japan, someone else. If you're playing Ecuador in the group stage, maybe you try and schedule Colombia, something like that. And I love when people do that to the U.S., where they're like, we're playing Mexico. Do you want to play us in a friendly? It's like, you're getting nothing to say. You didn't even look. You're just looking at a map, but it's fine because we want to play a high-level opponent, and that's fine as well. The reasoning on Chicago, Charlotte is you can't host at a FIFA venue. So they have to be non-FIFA cities. And then the only thing holding that up is if they draw Germany, which there's very little chance that happens because they'll both be pot one most likely, then they would cancel the game. But the pots haven't come out officially.
Oh, my bad. I saw something last night. I thought that was official. But
I think it's what people assume, which for the most part makes a lot of sense. There is one thing to throw in here as well that's come out over the course of the week, which is the belief is that Mauricio Pochettino will bring the 26 players that are on the roster to this camp and to these games, where in the past, coaches have brought an extended group they're still looking at and then cut players. The famous Landon Donovan cut in 2014. He was in the camp. He was in the first friendly. I have heard stories about the 2010 team when Bob Bradley did his final cut. And sort of the emotional toll that it held for a lot of people who felt like they were right on the edge. So Poach said, quote, I think it's difficult when you bring more than 26 players and then you need to tell a player on the last day you are out. I prefer to bring the 26 that you believe are going to be in the squad. And then if something happens, you can call someone else. After all of this, for the World Cup. So they will come to Atlanta. They will train in Atlanta. They will play on the East Coast. They will go to Chicago. They will play. They will then go to UC Irvine, which will be their hub for at least the early stages of the World Cup. They've got 2 games at SoFi and a game at in Seattle that's already locked in for the group stage.
Yeah, and I assume that it'll just Seattle right back to UC Irvine like that. That's where they'll camp. I hadn't considered kind of this rationale or hadn't even thought about the last camp pre-World Cup. Again, not the March camp, the one directly leading to the World Cup. Pochettino's answer, that was a really good quote. It was a longer, really thoughtful and considered answer. And he was like, he's like, I think it's cruel. Honestly, like, I think it's cruel to cut somebody that close. And he goes, I don't want to do that to people. And he goes, listen, we get to submit a larger, like, provisional type squad. And listen, if we have an injury in that week, then we'll bring somebody else. But he's like, I don't want for us all to be getting ready to go to the World Cup, and then 4 guys who were in training with us just now they have to go home. He's like, I think that's cruel, and I really like that as a quote and as a concept.
Yeah, we're about to get into some territory where there's going to be some really sad stories. If you talk to people who have gotten injured in World Cup windows, like, it's a one-off lifetime opportunity. This one, even more so for especially U.S., Canada, and Mexico players. There's going to be some sad stories in this. I have talked, I think, on air with Greg Vanny, who got injured going into the 2002 World Cup. And he couldn't make the roster. And it's just this one-off opportunity that players build their lives around that could happen or can't happen. So it's nice to hear that Mauricio Pochettino has at least some grace in that for some people. Okay. By the way, we had a lot of World Cup qualifying go down in CONCACAF. Panama, Curacao, and Haiti, baby. It was a party on Tuesday night in this region. This Panama team has changed the perception of the sport in their country. Thomas Christensen, we've brought up over and over again. We mentioned him when the U.S. job opened up. I think we've mentioned him with some MLS jobs that have opened up. The soccer they play, the belief they have, the way they play, it has been unmatched, I think, in the region, maybe only by Canada over the last 5 to 10 years to get a World Cup qualification. I mean, the Romel Fernandez bouncing. That was arguably the best soccer atmosphere on the planet this week. And it's a baseball country. Like, this is not normal. People can't just look at this and say, like, no, of course, this is Panama. Like, this wasn't. And it was awesome to see a lot of the guys that we have covered for years or have interviewed for years around the MLS sphere are a big part of this team, Annabelle Godoy being the biggest. And it's just awesome to see for them. And we're really, really excited. Curacao and Haiti as well. So Curacao are the smallest nation to ever qualify for a World Cup. They sort of had this rebuild of a lot of Dutch-born players of Curacao nationality over the last 10 years. And they go to Jamaica and get the results on the road in, again, a huge atmosphere for them to qualify. And then Haiti coming in, not knowing that they would have the chance on the final day. The results go their way. They take care of business. epic celebrations. Again, a bunch of players that I've covered for a long time that you're just so happy for, and countries that you're just so happy for. I've been to some Haiti Gold Cup games at Red Bull Arena. There's one where they won and Derek Etienne Jr. did a lap around the stadium, just high-fiving people. And you go out of the stadium and everyone's just playing music and dancing and partying. This is going to be sick. This is really, really cool. It is the one nice part about the expanded World Cup is countries like this got real legitimate shots to get in. Jamaica and Suriname are heading to the playoffs, so they both have chances still to get to the World Cup. Jamaica, I believe, fired Steve McLaren off the back of this.
Steve McLaren resigned, in which something he called was an emotional decision and all that. He was reading from a script immediately after the postgame.
Super emotional.
Did you have that prepared? I don't understand. That's
Listen, if you're Steve McLaren, you've always got a resignation speech in the back pocket. You never know if you're going to have to whip out the umbrella and hide a little bit and maybe fake an accent and do something like that. So all of those stories were huge. As I said, we will have a live World Cup draw show. It will be streamed on our YouTube pages. It will also be in person at Legends Bar in Midtown Manhattan. So if you're in the area, come by and hang out. And I think we're going to be hanging out talking soccer the entire day. So it's going to be really, really cool. Shout out to Petar Musa. He scored for Croatia as they solidified.
Awesome.
I'm feeling less and less confident that he's going to be in Major League Soccer next year. But he has been awesome. And then the scenes from Scotland and Ireland, so cool. And Iraq as well, which if you haven't seen it, one of our contributors, Valer Shabila, who covers Nashville SC, who is Iraqi, put together a video for us that we put out on our First Touch page talking about what it would mean to Iraq to get to a World Cup. They scored a penalty kick in the 90th plus 16 minutes, the final kick to beat UAE and go to the World Cup playoffs. So they are one of the teams that will get through automatically to the second round. Let's dig into our Major League Soccer, though, and let's go to the playoffs. As we can all remember, yes, we said it at the top, the schedule sucks. San Diego's hosting on a Monday night because they don't own their stadium and there's a college football game. A lot of this stuff sucks, but the soccer on the field with these four series should be really, really good. Tom, and let's start, I think, with the best series. Whoa. There you go.
Emotional. You're
getting emotional about it. Vancouver, LAFC. We've talked about it over and over. LAFC have been the bogey team for Vancouver. Vancouver have had this ceiling on the quality that they've had in a team, but mainly their ability to progress in competitions. They're having this unbelievable year, and what a better way to do it than we believe in a sold-out BC place.
Yep.
52,000 fans to watch you slay the big bad giant would be pretty cool.
We should get Vanni Sartini solo cam if I'm watching this game after his performance on the field after the last times that these two teams have played. Listen, Son Heung-min versus Thomas Muller. I think whoever wins this game is representing the West in MLS Cup.
Interesting.
I think these two teams are just so very good. They still match up really well against each other in terms of just the stylistic differences. Vancouver are going to dominate with the ball, and they're getting healthy. Ryan Gauld, I mean, he was speaking to media if we want to do the thing where we read into, like maybe he's got it. Is he ready to start? I really hope he is. Or is he ready to come in at halftime and potentially play extra time if they get there? Point is, this should be the most minutes he's played all season, and what a time to get him back. Brian White, I don't know if we have an update or not, but like Tristan Blackman, the last we spoke was by the conference semifinals, they could have all three of those guys back and ready to start.
Yeah.
And that's a DP into a best 11 defender of the year and best 11 center back, and your leading scorer, just a goal machine, really, really good center forward. That's significant to go along with what they already have. And then, of course, LAFC with Son and Bouanga. They'll feel they have the two best players on the field every single time they step out. They have a robust spine. I'm so curious how they're going to play this. I'm not that curious. We know how they're probably just going to give Vancouver the ball and try to transition, but they can do more. There are different combinations to play. I just can't wait for this game.
Yeah. Vancouver are going to go and play, right? That's the part that's always been so exciting about this team. And what we could get in the playoffs is they're not going to be scared of the moment. They're not going to say, oh, actually, it'd be a bit more pragmatic. Because as you said, we know LAFC are going to sit in and counter. And like the way you get hurt by that is by exposing yourself. But Vancouver are going to say, we believe we can do what we do even better than what they do. And we're going to go and win that, whether that's 3-2, whether that's 4-2, whether that's 4-3. Like, we don't care.
Yeah.
And there are tweaks inside of that. And having Blackman is a huge part of that. Someone that can run in space with Son and Bouanga. But Vancouver are not going to be scared of that moment. They have the ability, hopefully, to either break lines with their passing or 1v1 dribbling. And if they can do that, the runners that follow up are so dangerous, whether it's Berhalter, whether it's Kubas, whether it's one of the wingers coming off the wing, right? Emmanuel Sabi, Jaden Nelson, like those guys cleaning up. And I do think there is a little bit of a gap in that LAFC central midfield. You can either overpower them with numbers and play around them, or they have to start chasing runners. Someone will come free, and there's opportunity there. It's what happened for Austin, right? Danny Pereira and Wolf were the two most impactful players. You want that model of player? Look at this Vancouver team. There's 14 of them. Like, there are 14 guys who can do that stuff.
Fair.
And I think Vancouver should feel super confident about that. And all the guys you just mentioned, like, for the most part, because of how well they've played, they're cherry on top, which is the ideal situation, which is like the responsibility is not going to be on Brian White's shoulders. If he does come back, whatever minutes you get from him, it is not, hey, man, we need you to save us. We need 90 minutes. We need 85 minutes. Like, it's going to be, okay, let's put you in late. Where can we use you? We'll play you for the first half and sub you out. Like, there's a lot of different options with that stuff. For LAFC, I will be interested to see Dennis Bouanga. The Gabon playoff game was heartbreaking stuff against Nigeria. Chance for them to go to their first ever World Cup. They equalize in the 87th minute. And I felt like when you watch that game, especially the extra time, like, he was the one driving the team. I think there's a lot of emotional baggage that comes with that. And I'm just, he's been a machine since he has joined MLS. We've never seen a drop. He's the one that doesn't. Can he maintain that level coming back and into this?
Yeah, and just on top of the heartbreak, just the physical toll of going to play where they played and how difficult it is to get back. And this is a guy who was on a 22-hour travel, whether through connecting flights, lands in LA, and then just drives to the stadium, gets put on the bench, and then subs in later in that game, like in the past. If there's literally anybody in this league, it's Denny Bouanga that I'm going to assume is still going to be 100%. But like you said, it's just the mental effect, the heartbreak effect, and the physical toll. But we haven't seen a cyborg like this man. So until that he shows anything less than he can sprint 1,000 times a game at his top speed, I'm just going to assume he's going to, which is not a fair assumption. I want to be clear. We should not be overlooking or just taking this for granted. He is unbelievable. And I just always back that guy to be like, okay, like he'll be fresh. He'll be ready. You know the story of Russell Wilson being a dork and doing high knees up and down the plane because he wanted to show people I'm rehabbing 22 hours a day. What do you think Danny Bouanga does on the plane? Like, I don't.
He probably turns around and he goes, "LAFC Nation, let's ride." That's your boy, dude. Russell Wilson's your guy. That's your squad.
I felt something again when Jameis Winston was playing.
I bet.
Hire Dayball to fire him again. Forever putting us through Russell Wilson instead of James Winston.
I had already texted 4 days before saying, can't wait for Jameis Winston to keep the team in it and then throw a pick while trying to do something heroic to win the game. And for everyone to be like, maybe he will be good and then blow up in the next game. And that's exactly what we are on.
I just felt something.
This game's going to make us feel something. The atmosphere is going to be nuts. Like we saw the CCL semifinal against Miami. We've even seen in the past in playoff games, like when BC Place turns up, it is wild. It's raucous. The noise stays in there. The fans love this team. No one really shows up to big games there as like neutrals or Messi fans, and that won't be any different for this one. And this is what Vancouver played for the entire year. Chance here to go to a conference finals for the first time and potentially, if the other result goes the way, host the conference finals. Like, this is massive and this is really, really big. At the same time, I'm not going to be surprised if LAFC wins. Like, it fits their game model. They have the game changers. They have the talent. They'll be comfortable in these moments, right? They are setting into play the way they play, so they won't be shocked or awed or thrown off by the noise and the energy coming at them. Vancouver needs to score early. Like, they're going to come out of the gates flying the first 20 minutes. They got to see something hit the back of the net for that, and it not just be, all right, it's 0-0 at halftime, but we were the better team. I just think you're going to be exposed by this LAFC team, and you need to take advantage when you're on the front foot.
Agreed. And just on the injury front, Har out in Vancouver put out an update a few days ago. No, yesterday, sorry. Daniel Rios working in the gym, but Ryan Gauld, Brian White, Tristan Blackman, all fully training. Blackman has been back in full training for a couple weeks. So that sounds good on all those fronts. And that's, again, we want to see both of these teams have as many of their best players as possible. And that's just good news.
Yeah, absolutely. So Vancouver trying to overcome. They were eliminated last year in the playoffs, 2 years ago in CCL, and I think Leagues Cup, and then 3 years ago in playoffs as well. Like, it has been a long stretch for them. Let's go to FC Cincinnati versus Miami. That one on Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern time. The first of them. This is an interesting game. It feels like Miami coming through that Nashville series is peaking. I don't know that we say the same about Cincinnati as we haven't, but they are the home team. They have been fairly comfortable in this matchup in the past. Sorry, they've been dominated in this matchup in the past. I was reading off the wrong line. They lost 3-0 back in July. They lost 2-0 last year, and they lost, before that. So it feels reductive to say this one's on Messi and Evander. Do you have a different read than that?
No, man. Go back to the Bruce Arena quote. Your best players have to be your best players in the playoffs. It does sound reductive. It does sound simplistic, but sometimes that really is the biggest factor in some of these games. I think the winner of this represents the Eastern Conference in MLS Cup. That's how I feel going into this weekend. With no disrespect to Philly, NYCFC, or San Diego, Minnesota, I just think that this quartet of teams are just so very, very good. And if the seeding worked out differently, these would feel like representative conference finals. And I think de facto they just might be with these two teams. And yeah, so in that game, like, Miami had all of their guys. So it wasn't one of those times where they were missing Messi or a couple other international, whatever. But they didn't have Rocco's. This was before they made some changes to the team. Like, Oscar Ustari was in goal. Tommy Saviles was on the field, which I shouldn't be seeing the field in this game. So there are obviously different, and Rodrigo De Paul, chief among them, was not yet signed by Miami, or was not yet playing at least. So those are three key differences. Yeah. But Cincinnati will go into this game super confident. I haven't seen an update yet, but I think Ender Echenique came off injured again for Venezuela yesterday, and we'll see, because he's been really important to this team in the playoffs, and he's been one of the consistent outlets for this team, and that would be a really big blow.
I think for Cincinnati, the thing that I think can be a real advantage for them is they have two center forwards who will play on the back line in the channels, which will either pin Noah Allen in or force Busquets deep. And I think all of those are matchups they can win. And then Evander can create for them. For Nashville, Hani and Sam Surge were dropping in to find the game. And so they couldn't stay up alongside those guys as much as you'd like, where you don't need to do that for Cincinnati. Brenner's going to keep making runs. He's going to keep trying to stretch the back line. Denke can win 1v1 battles. And then Evander can be the one with a little bit of space to provide for them. Or you get that width. And this is the matchup where you're like, well, no, Allen's not really a center back. But Inter Miami's gotten through it by managing games and creating game states. And I think this Cincinnati team puts them in a really tough spot in that setting. And then the other question is just, how do they get numbers around Messi? How do they close the attack? There are options for this Inter Miami team. I don't know if Suarez plays automatically. From a coaching point of view, I don't really know who coaches this team and who makes those decisions. So I'm not going to try and put a lot of logic to it. But this isn't Miami team that's going to threaten you. And the disadvantage of now being in single elimination is Cincinnati can't experience it and then figure it out. You got to come out the gate ready. And I think Nashville was all over the map in that first game, trying to be overly physical and try and win battles and win the small spaces that they got thrown off. And they had 4 games to play them across 2 weeks. And the Cincinnati team gets one shot at this one, which I think is going to be really, really hard to sort of prepare for and recover for.
Sure, but I like this team in a one-off game. I'll be going to my grave saying, no, it's 2025 Cincy team. They have another level. They do, I promise. So again, I could just be being stubborn or being wrong. But I do still genuinely believe you look at that front three and you look at the defensive structure. I have not seen an update on Matt Miazga since a week ago. Laurel Fela said he was still off to the side. He was outside training, but wasn't participant in full training. Him being available in, I don't know, 85% of Matt Miazga would be a big part. Even it, obviously Matt Miazga in and of itself is a difference-making defender at 100%. Even if he's just, again, some sort of lesser version of himself, that keeps other options on the bench that don't have to play in his absence. And I think that in and of itself could be a win. And particularly now FCC is down, like they're going to have to do some shuffling. Yeah. And if you've got to play Luca Orejano and then Yuya Kubo as the wingbacks, right? Like you'd really, really like to have Miazga, Robinson, and Hagman as that back three to give yourself the best chances possible against Inter Miami. But another selfish note on this, I'll be in town for this game. I can't wait. I have not been to Cincinnati. I have not been to TQL.
I've never been to TQL.
Come in, you get a flight. See you there.
I will be at the NWSL Championship.
I was just making conversation, just so you didn't feel like you were left out. As somebody who now reports on NWSL News with the Trinity Rodman stuff.
Yeah. No, obviously. You're the big breaking news voice. A few things that I'm going to watch out for that starting lineup. If Ekenike can play, and Orejano can start, does Engel play as a center back? Because I actually like that option.
I like it better too.
Again, where you say anything that's not Teenage Debbie, anything that's not Alvis Powell at a center back position, like any of that is better. And the other is, it's been a long time since the last game. I'm curious how many minutes Nobodo has and the decision that they make there.
Yeah.
It would be a lot to put him in a first start here. And as we've said, we both kind of like Guidi and what he's brought. Mm-hmm. But it's an option. And there hasn't been options in a lot of these areas for Cincinnati a lot this year. Philadelphia, NYCFC. Obviously, we talked about the Ernst Tanner news on the top of the show. That will have a black cloud around this team, around the stadium, around this game, and everything that happens in this season for Philadelphia. On the field, this has been like the inverse of Vancouver LAFC on the East Coast. Anytime one of these teams has done something special, it's been against the other team. They've met in the conference finals. Both times these two teams have been to MLS Cup in their histories, and they do so once again. It was a roaring victory for NYCFC over Charlotte to close out that series, and so there should be a lot of confidence from them, and it feels like they are comfortable in their own skin in possession in a way that they normally handle Philly's pressure, and they can match their physicality. This is a much younger, different NYCFC team than what we've seen in the past in these moments. So it's going to be a huge moment for them. And I think if you're NYCFC, based off everything that's going on, you got to come out and go for it in this game. Like you have to try and just quiet the crowd in the opening 20 minutes and sort of establish this is our game. And we know Maxi Morales has done that in the playoffs in the past and has led his teams to do that.
The issue is Keaton Parks has obviously been out for a long time. Aiden O'Neal suspended, and Andres Perea broke his leg. You're down to your fourth and fifth string central midfielders. I don't think that you should move the back line with Justin Hack being back there.
Yeah.
He's been so good. Let me tell you, breaks, you don't need too much. A lot of MLS teams are tracking him for this winter when he's out of contract, as are teams abroad. So this is a player who's really come good on his potential. He's been awesome. While he came up as a central midfielder, and I have no doubt that he would be fine in that role, I would be really reluctant to break up that back three and how important he's been, particularly with the deep line playmaking stuff. But it's going to be really difficult for Pascal Janssen without, again, his top three central midfield choices.
Also,
for a team that plays the ball.
Also, sorry, because we're coming out of international break, so I'm rusty. Alonso Martinez tore his ACL.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Yeah.
So that's the whole story here. He's arguably the cleanest finisher at center forward. He is their outlet. He is their half chasing in this game on top of all the players you just named. So NYCFC coming in heavily depleted. The center forward, I mean, I'm just trying to look now and figure out what they're going to do at the center forward position. I guess it's Augustine Ojeda. Maybe you push Hannes Wolf up there. Man, this is a depleted group going into this game.
Zidane Giannis.
Play the kids, man. That is the kickback way. That's what we believe in.
But again, at center forward and then in central midfield, like, do you have to try to drop Maxi Morales a little bit deeper and just tell Johnny Shore, hey man, kind of on an island here, defense, like you got to cover a lot of ground. Like I don't think that's a winning. Like Hannes Wolf. So maybe you could drop Hannes Wolf back and say Johnny Shore, you're the 6, and Maxi and Wolf. Like Wolf has the work rate. I'd rather him be further forward, but it's probably the best of bad options for me. And then. Yeah, Ojeda, then that would make Ojeda or Julian Fernandez as a winger and the other one playing through the centrally.
Well, the comment we got in the chat, which I agree with, is it's probably Seymour Reed as the center forward, who again has played 500 professional soccer minutes, but is a natural center forward, so would make the most sense. None of what we are saying is a good scenario. And if they were one more piece, right? Andres Pereira, we've seen him play out wide this year. We've seen him play more attacking. If he was healthy and available, that gives you flexibility wherever you feel most confident to use other pieces. But there's not a lot of flexibility here because there's not a lot of options. And it would be a masterclass for Pascal Janssen to win this. But both these teams come in weird sorts, in a weird way. And we'll see what this leads to. So this is a double header on Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern time, 7:45 Eastern time for these two teams. And then we finish up on Monday night, San Diego hosting Minnesota at 10 p.m. Eastern time. We will be back with you next Tuesday so that we can react to all these games. We will give you the long preview for the conference finals. And of course, it'll be Thanksgiving. So that'll be our one major show of the week. And then we will have that for you. And then we'll be back, of course, after that with MLS Cup and all of that stuff going forward. This similar to...
Poor Minnesota fans. Let me just start there. How many Monday playoff games at 10 p.m. are they going to get this year? It's just so unfortunate.
At least they don't have to. At least they don't have to go to a Monday night November game at home. You're just sitting at home in your cozy spot, or at Blackheart, of course, watching the game on TV. This is similar to Vancouver LAFC, a clash of styles. Both teams will play the exact soccer they play because that's how they are set up, and it will be about execution between the two of them. And coming out of the last series, it's hard to read. What I would say right now is I think Minnesota did things they're not normally capable of against Seattle, but gave up things that they shouldn't, more so than what I would expect San Diego. Like, I think if you looked at that series and you swap San Diego in for Seattle, right now I would say I have more belief that San Diego doesn't make the mistakes that Seattle made. And I think the openings Seattle created are still there for this San Diego group.
The two games between these two teams this season for all of the correct, I think, praise we give Minnesota for the defensive structure and defensive ability. San Diego won 4-2 in June in Minnesota, and Minnesota in September went to San Diego and won 3-1.
Yeah.
So
which
there's
was
a lot of goals.
Crazy game.
Yeah. That just a lot of goals between these two teams for, again,
that second game, by the way, the opening goal came in the 74th minute. All 4 goals came in the final 15 minutes of the game, 2 of them in stoppage time. It was a bizarre game to watch play out. And as you'd expect, it was 65% possession for San Diego. San Diego had 2.1 XG. Minnesota has 0.5. And that's the model, right? That's the model for Minnesota if they can finish their chances.
Yeah. Put it in the mixer, mate.
I think this one will be fun because, again, like what you talk about with LAFC, I don't think Minnesota will be scared or worried or uncomfortable. It will be interesting to see how Chucky Lozano affects this game. Like, do you need that extra bit of quality?
He wasn't able to play in Mexico's second game because of reporting was muscular overload, something to that effect. So I am less confident now that he's going to start as I was expecting.
Yeah, which would be a blow to them, but obviously not fatal with the production they're getting right now from Amal Pellegrino and just the connection and flow that's in this team. This is a tough one too, of like, they've never been here before, not just at the level, like an international break into the biggest game of the year. And like, can you keep your foot on the gas? Can you keep the momentum? Maybe playing Monday night isn't the worst thing, of like watching the rest of the playoff games and sort of getting a sense of it going into it might actually help this San Diego group. And they just know who they are right now. And I think there's a ton of belief in what they're doing, and this should feel like a winnable matchup for them.
Oh, for sure. Again, they're the number one team in the West. They're at home. Like they should be feeling. For San Diego should be feeling, like the confident team, the one that's expected to win. But Minnesota coming in, like what they did to get past Seattle, it wasn't pretty, but they got through. And this is a team that kind of lives off that. And Eric Ramsey's like post game speech after the last game was like, it was the craziest game. Like we're gonna be better for this. You guys will never defend like this ever again. Like,
it's obvious with MLS that I don't have to sort of lay out the parameters because everything is the same all the time. It's single game elimination. It's extra time if it goes there, and then it's a penalty kick shootout. Jane St. Clair is still a match winner for this Minnesota team. They've got that in their back pocket. The long throws are going to be a massive factor. Set pieces are going to be a massive factor in this game. And then for Minnesota, there's some question marks in terms of health. Will Kelvin Yeboah get the start? Does he need to? So there is a lot to figure out for them as well. And then I assume Joseph Rosales is suspended for this game because he picked up a red card in the last game back in 1992. So he is unavailable for this one. And Minnesota, I wouldn't say, has the most depth. So there's a little bit of worry in terms of what they can do.
If there's one spot that they have, I know that they've both been playing together, but if they have one spot at depth, it's left wing back with Mark Koenig.
That is absolutely true. And Mark Koenig scored in that previous matchup against this team. I'm going to be lame here. 4 games. I'm going to go all 4 home teams. It's not going to happen, but I don't know which one to pick against.
You've bailed on Miami.
Yes. I wouldn't say I was on the Miami train. I was off the Cincinnati. No, that's true. I did come in saying Miami. I think I convinced myself with the Brenner Denke conversation and the way they set up and the way they have spaces. So that, I'm going to go all 4 home. Do you have a set of picks?
I think MLS Cup is going to be Cincinnati versus LAFC. So that's just starting right there. That LAFC over Vancouver, Cincy over Miami, Philly over NYCFC, and I'll stick with San Diego. But again, I think these first 2 games are de facto conference finals.
Yeah. Justin Heat in the chat says, anyone keeping a clean sheet? If I had to pick one across these games, I would probably pick Philadelphia to keep the clean sheet with no Alonso Martinez. My second option would actually be San Diego, in that I could see a world that Minnesota just doesn't create chances, less so than the San Diego team locks down. All right, we're going to do a little ice cream shop real quick here before we get out of here. But Tom's waiting to break some more news. So if the phone rings, we are out. Let's start with the one you put out, I think earlier today, actually. Which is a tasty one for MLS sickos, that Matty Bogusz might be back in the league.
Yeah, sources tell me that Matty Bogusz is likely to leave Cruz Azul this winter. There is interest in Europe, but I'm told that there's some strong stuff coming from MLS. We'll see how this develops. We'll see what the price points are and if anybody can get deals done. What I'm told is New England has the discovery rights. I don't know anything about active conversations or whatever, but there's only 5 or 6 discovery rights slots. Don't put a player on if you don't really want them.
Right.
Obviously, this is a DP level player. He left for like a $9 million fee, something in that region. I know his contract is vastly above the DP threshold right now. I think either way, just transfer fee or just salary, he'd be a DP. But so I think that's a safe assumption. New England don't have a DP spot. We'll see what happens with Thomas Chonkalai. That is somebody who could be on the move this winter. So I think that is one factor in his future. But I know New England aren't the only team that have some interest in him.
He is it feels like a guaranteed performer. And that's where like the money value is with him. I don't know what the sell-on fee is anymore, right? Originally LAFC brought him in knowing they'd sell him, and now he moves, and like you're probably not doing great business here, which is you're probably not having future value. But if you want today production at this age, like if he says, "Oh, I want to be a part of this and I want to play here," he could be on your team through his prime, and he could, I don't know, be the best player, but he could be Philip Zinkernagel. He could be Andres Dreyer, right? Like we're talking about guys that Facundo Torres, like we're talking about guys who were really, really good. And if there is a second great guy or good guy, like Luis Gil, then they are a 15 and 15. Carlos Gil, sorry. I am all over that.
Luis Gil, the baseball pitcher?
No. He's a former U.S. national team guy.
Real Salt Lake kid.
He plays for Spokane Velocity in USL League One. He was in the championship game. That's where that came from.
That's funny.
And so, like, to me, there are a bunch of teams that this is obvious for. If I'm DC United, is this the move I make? Not saying they would. I don't know because I'm not that
Bogusz,
close.
is this the move you make?
Yeah, for sure. Because I'm not that close to winning. But like, there are a lot of teams.
What does that stop them?
FC Dallas would be an interesting one.
I love that. I was funny. I was talking to somebody about that today, and I was like, dude, I kind of want to will that into existence.
Right. Instead of Lucho, this is the guy you replaced Alan Velasquez with. Yeah, Alan Velasco with. Yeah. Is there? I don't know. And then again, we've talked about some. I think the Christian Espinoza list is the same list as this. Like, are you in win now mode? Do you have a need at this position? Do you have the opening? So again, I say a TFC. Like, right. He's an MLS proven player. He can play in a position of need. It will come down to the number. Like,
yes,
it will probably feel like a bigger number than you should give to Matty Bogusz because he's coming off Liga MX numbers. But you're gonna get value, or you're going to get production. The question is if you're willing to spend it. It's not going to be pennies against the dollar. Like, this guy's going to get paid for what he does well. And if an MLS team's willing to pony up to that, that could be a really good move. Let's talk about this next one, which is you wrote a piece about the New York Red Bulls. If they were willing to spend money, by the way, he would be interesting there too.
Yeah. That's a really good shout. I'm curious as to what'll happen there. I went up to the Red Bulls training facility, got to spend some time with head of sport, Julian de Guzman, and he was really honest and open about their plans and what they want to do. First and foremost, my biggest takeaway was they want to play what seems very clear to me, a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3. Like, Julian de Guzman mentioned wingers to me several times. He mentioned number 8s who can create, who can cover, like box-to-box guys. They mostly played 3 at the back under Sandro Schwarz. The Red Bull global motto is 4-2-2. That the Red Bulls haven't quite had success with, but Leipzig has, Salzburg has. Julian de Guzman says, like, quote, it's part of a transition we're going through at Red Bulls. We've always played 4-2-2 in transition, go direct. It's worked out to some degree, but it needs a refresh. It relates to how I enjoyed in my playing career, especially in La Liga. I like to play football. I want to see more of that. So I think that is very interesting. And he kind of noted that it's important. This first window is going to be really important because they need to bring in, again, wingers. Like, Emil Forsberg can play off the left. I like him better as a 10, but he can play off the left. Lewis Morgan can play on the right when he's fit. That's about it for, like, high-level wing options. So, like, they need several additions. They have an open DP spot. It could be a winger. It won't be Timo Werner. I was impressed by how direct, because usually people just say no comment, or, I don't want to talk about other players. Quote, where'd it go? He goes, there's always talks about Werner going back to the summer. We have to make sure here in New York, if it makes sense to us. It's a great name. I think the fans would have loved him. Well, the opportunity was there, but I don't think we were 100% sold that this was the right thing for New York. It was not something we were fully invested in. So this next signing will not be Timo Werner. They haven't decided if they're going to sign a third DP or if it's going to be a U22 model or just a 10-level player. He said, like, we're not going to sign another Emil or Choupo-Moting, but we need somebody that's a difference maker, whether it's a DP or not. They have to play like a DP, which is, again, why I don't think that it would be the money for Bogusz. And lastly, on the head coaching search, as we kind of all assumed, and from what I've heard, really strongly know, Michael Bradley is firmly a candidate. And Julian de Guzman was speaking really pleasantly about how well Michael Bradley did after taking over New York Red Bulls 2 in the summer. And they won MLS Next Pro. So Michael Bradley's a name to watch there, but not definitely his job yet.
Shocked. Hear me? I am shocked. I'm actually curious. I never thought about this. If they played together, I think Julian left Toronto FC before Michael got there.
Yeah, he was already out like by a few years.
Well, no, he left in 2012.
By a few years, no?
I think Michael came in 2013.
I thought he was 14.
I think the bloody, I can't remember. Oh, maybe I'm thinking Javinko. I don't remember the bloody big deal. Remember they
2014. You're thinking of Jermaine Defoe. Wasn't that bloody big deal?
Yeah, I thought they both came that year, though.
No,
I thought it was 2013, but it was 2014. Maybe Bez got there in 13, and then they were able to bring him in 14.
Yeah, maybe you were just wrong.
Yeah. I'm just trying to make conversation, man.
I know, I won.
They, listen, no one's going to fault you for bringing Michael Bradley in as head coach. It seems pretty obvious that it's going to happen.
I would assume so.
I don't know what this team is. Like, the comments around Werner, it's like, so he was going to come in, and you said no? Because you didn't sign anyone else. So, like, what was the process of that window? And you've spent a year trying to sign him, and you got, because he's not new, right? Julian's been with this group for a year.
Well, he's been the number 2 to be for. So I don't know. Again,
so
I'm just saying I don't know if that was a Jochen Schneider led discussion.
Fair, which I think just also goes to a little bit of the chaos of the club. And I think the comments about wanting to play are great. This is a big global structure. Does Julian de Guzman have the strength, like political power to do that? Or is the opening there, which is like, whatever, we don't even care? I don't know. So we will find that out. For San Diego, Luca Bombino and Oscar Verhoeven, which we always assumed their loans would be made permanent. Their loans were made permanent. So now they are technically trades. The numbers that they acquired them both at was preset before the loan. And so I'm really excited to see LAFC's young players perform at a high level from the academy, breaking through. It's not that LA is a talent-rich area. So I think for LAFC, it's tough to find guys that you could break through. And I think for LAFC, it's fair. Are they capable of playing at a high level day one? I don't know. But Luca Bombino is going to start in a conference semifinals. And if LAFC loses and San Diego wins, he's going to start in a conference finals. And he was in your academy for these past years. I'm not saying Ryan Hollingshead needs to be replaced. I'm just saying it's freaking LA. How is there no talent coming through and getting opportunities at the first team level? But I'm sure Andrew Wiebe will do a hit about this one on Sunday Night Soccer or something like that.
You're going to get a lot of texts about this. I will say, to push back, I get it. And like we all champion youth development. It's really, really hard to criticize LAFC's decision-making when they're constantly in conference finals, or constantly late in the tournaments.
I think that's fair.
If this team, let's go to Oscar Verhoeven. San Jose
for sure
missed the playoffs again. San Jose decided that we can't sign both Diego Luna and Cruz Medina.
Right.
And what are we doing there? So that's the team that I think deserves more criticism. When LAFC, I would like to see them bring more players through, but they're also the team that brought Son Heung-min. They're also the team that keep Danny Bouanga and does all these other good things. So while I wish that it'd be nice if they did the youth development, it's really, really hard to be like, well, actually, you should move, take away minutes from Ryan Hollingshead, or well, actually, you should. Igor Jesus, really good signing. You should have made room for Jude Terry or something, right? It's just tough for me.
Yeah, the tough part though is with the restrictions that currently exist, they have LA. They're one of the 2 teams that has LA, and it's one of the great soccer playing cities in the world, and you should be tapping into that resource to an extent. And I don't mind a little bit of we've got great players. We help develop them. We loan them out. We sell them. They never really break into our first team, but they do. That's fine. But this feels more like a one-off than a process. Let's close out on Orlando. By the way, free agent list coming out. We're going to talk about Orlando's here. A couple teams have come out, a lot more to come. We'll continue to cover it as we go along. Our depth charts are updated so you can get an idea of where teams stand and where guys could fit in. I am keeping my laundry list of free agents that are interesting to me every time I read a team and start to see some names. The big ones right now are goalkeepers. We didn't mention Carlos Coronel. I skipped over that one. He is leaving the New York Red Bulls. Maxime Crépeau will not return to Portland as James Pantemis won the starting job there. Mm-hmm. Those are 2 starting level goalkeepers. And Houston was in a panic going, into this season. I will be interested to see where they land and sort of who takes a shot. Are they
Jonathan
stuck on Bond? I don't have.
Sources told me yes.
So his contract was not for 2 years. They are deciding to bring him.
I'm told the plan is Jonathan Bond's to start next year.
Cool. Sounds like a good plan. I'm going to continue to start you, Tom, next year as well. So
Thank
I don't
you.
care what the
underlying
numbers.
Did you just pick up my contract option?
Yeah, I don't care what the underlying numbers or the lack of spots in the standings mean as well. Let's talk Orlando.
Yeah, so Orlando released their end of season roster update. Cesar Araujo is out of contract. He's leaving. The club knew that this was a likelihood when they turned down a bid from, I think it was Nacional or somebody else for him this winter last winter. They thought that, hey, we think we have a really good team. And for most of the year, they did have a really good team. And they wanted to prioritize, hey, ownership understands that we might lose a couple $1 million of not getting a transfer fee. But they agreed that it was more valuable and better to be chasing first-team success. So they knew that proposition, they ultimately couldn't convince him to sign a new deal, so he'll be leaving. Surprising one, Robin Jensen, they declined his option, but are in negotiations over a new deal for him. I think that's really, really important. I'd be surprised. I don't have any info on this, but I'd be surprised. And maybe just declining the option is to give a longer term deal. And, it's the leverage of, hey, maybe you'll get a little bit less next year, but you get the long-term security. I don't know. I think he's really good. So I hope that happens. And then there are some other players to watch. Like, so Luis Muriel's under contract. I don't expect him to be here on opening day. Like, I expect. So he had some interest, if not an offer, from the Colombian League. I forget which team this summer. Nothing came to be. He spoke about it publicly and was like, "Oh, I have to honor my contract, but one day I do want to go back." And well, he completely dried up in terms of goals from that point on. And it just makes sense that I know that the team wants to get better, and that's the biggest shift that they can do if they move on to DP, and open that spot for another. Another player is Alex Freeman that we talked about at the top of the show. So he's got 1 year left on his contract. Villarreal is a team to watch. They are firmly in pole position. I think it's almost pretty much a 0% chance that there's a new contract that can be agreed between Orlando and Freeman. I'd be very, very surprised if there was even conversations ongoing, because if he runs down his contract in a year, Villarreal will be there. Other teams will be there, but it is Villarreal from what I'm told. And I think that opens up more probability that there's just a deal agreed this winter, and hopefully a loan back. And maybe he stays in Orlando through at least the summer, if not the whole year. But I think that's increasingly likely that there's a deal agreed for Freeman this winter.
Oof. What a contract he is building for himself with the performances he put in for the national team. It will be interesting to see going forward either way. I think for Orlando, under Oscar, they rebuilt their academy structure, and Alex Freeman is the tip of the spear on that. Like, they believe they've got, Colin Grusky coming through. There's, I think, still belief about Tommy Williams, all of those guys, and then in the future selling those guys. So Alex Freeman is your first one to sort of get the opportunity with. Luis Muriel, by the way, I Google it, came through Juniors Academy, played with Deportivo Cali. So the odds are one of those two teams.
Those are two teams that I have heard, but I don't remember which one.
They're big teams with big money, and so in the context, and you'd expect that's where he ends up. But you never know. Like, I think you're coming back next year, but you're announcing new podcasts. You're going hanging out with World Cup veterans. Tom, you're big time, and I don't know that you all have time for me.
I always have time for you, David. Gosh, what are you talking about? I texted you, 400 times yesterday.
Yes, you did. And it was delightful every single time, as it was to have the chat here live with us. Thank you to all of you for listening. Thank you to everyone for listening on podcast. And as I said, we've got a lot more content coming up for you. We've got a lot more coverage coming up for you. I'll be out at the NWSL Championship, so hit me up on Blue Sky if you will be around. Thank you to all of you for listening, and we'll talk to you again very, very soon.